Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Ethan Dettenmaier and Adrian Paul, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Well, it's another beautiful day in Los Angeles, hot and humid, and how's your grass? That's what I want to see. Have you seen a lot of this stuff around where the grass is just like brown?
Yeah, it's called a drought, buddy.
Is that what it is? Actually, I've noticed signs. You know, I'm kind of interested about people that are actually going to be watering their lawns and stuff like that. Will we actually have some sort of restriction on how to water our gardens and pools? I mean, think about the amount of swimming pools and the amount of water in Los Angeles, and I wonder if that's going to be,
Well, they're trying to advise conservation, and maybe it'll encourage people to install gray water systems.
Well, I think that's not a bad idea.
No, it's not. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
We should have had them 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think it's. I actually start to. I just bought another house, which is kind of fun. So it's. Anyway, it's a long story, but it's not really what we should be talking about this morning. But how was your week, by the way? How was your week? That's what I want to know.
Hectic.
Yeah.
Exhausting.
But
it's all good.
I can tell by your voice. Hectic.
It's
it was exhausting.
Well, there's just a lot going on right now.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I do know. Well, we've got to have a couple of guests in the studio this morning. We're going to have. We do have already. She's sitting here looking beautiful as normal. We have Baroness Kimberly Moore from the Kimberly Moore Foundation, who we've worked with before. We've had on the show before. Active entrepreneur from New York City and Goodwill Ambassador to the United States, best known for using her creative energy in raising funds and awareness for a variety of industries around the world. In 2005, she founded the Echelon Club, a membership-based lifestyle organization in Los Angeles. And using that as a platform, she founded the Kimberly Moore Foundation. And created a great number of programs and campaigns well recognized in the media for benefiting children and families in her own community. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How
Get
are you
close
doing?
to my mic for me. Well, not my mic specifically, but, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
I know.
Yes. And you've got so much going on. It's ridiculous. We were talking the other day. You've got this whole big event coming up as well, don't you?
Yeah, October 27. We're doing a big gala at the Beverly Hilton International Ballroom, and we're adopting our first country.
Yes, I heard that. That was kind of awesome. Now let's talk a little bit about that. The Adopt a Letter campaign. That's where it started, wasn't it?
Yeah, we started out answering wishes that children were writing to Santa Claus back in 2007. When we found a letter that a child wrote to Santa Claus asking for food. And anyway, all the letters go to the U.S. Post Office. I went to the U.S. Post Office. It turns out they have a little facility called the North Pole Facility, which is really the shredding facility. There I found letters of children that were desperately crying for help, asking for clothes, asking for shoes, asking for socks for their mom, for warm blankets. A lot of kids were asking for food, which really surprised me here in the United States. And I got people to adopt the letters. I gathered friends and neighbors and all sorts of people and corporations to get involved in adopting letters that don't have to cost thousands of dollars to make a difference in a child. Mm-hmm. And since then, we've answered letters and wishes of over 30,000 children since 2007. So.
Yeah, and so tell me a little bit about the one in the country. What's this other country thing? Because now you're spreading your wings a little bit, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, we received a letter from a woman in El Salvador, and she has been working with a variety of foundations out there. Her sister volunteered with me a few times, and she called her sister and said, "Oh, I heard that Kimberly adopts wishes of children in need. We have a situation here in El Salvador where we could desperately use her help." She wrote a letter to me asking me to adopt her letter request for her country, El Salvador. Right now it's going through a really hard time. They have the highest murder rate of children in the world.
Murder rate of children?
Of children in the world, yeah. There's a lot of gang violence going on right there right now. A lot of parents are fleeing the country and leaving their children behind. The women
How did
that
you
I
leave your kids behind? I don't know how you could do that personally.
Yeah, and the kids they seek comfort by joining gangs, and because they're in need of food.
Well, they need a family too.
Yeah,
That's the other thing. I mean, a lot of the time when you don't have parents around, that sort of community allows them to be part of something that they're not part of in their own lives. So, I think that's why kids join gangs. There is peer pressure and a lot of other things, but the parents' absence of
they need a sense
guidance,
of belonging.
and a sense of belonging. Yeah, I think that's it's very important.
Yeah, no, so it's a really bad situation. And Lori Oppenheimer, who reached out to me, she found a bunch of children that were thrown away in the trash bags, in the garbage, and that were being eaten by bugs.
Oh my gosh!
And she took a lot of these kids back home, and she worked for a nonprofit organization. They started an orphanage out there, and she's been caring right now for 89 children. The waterways were destroyed due to like earthquakes, all the way up to like 2001. So there's a lot of people that are in dire need of water as well, medical help, all sorts of stuff. But right now the country's it's a really dangerous place to go right now. And
it's interesting because I had a meeting yesterday for 5 hours based on a product that we might be getting behind. But it's not just the product. The idea of this product is really about helping other people and sharing and having good warriors around the world.
Right.
And I think there is a consciousness on this planet that people want to do good. It's not necessary. There is a very bad faction. There's a bad faction, but the more good people stand up and do something or say something, the better that result will be later on, and the more we can eradicate certain factions like child soldiers, like slavery, like kids being thrown into trash bins of that thing, because it all comes from poverty and not being an understanding. I think we've spent the past 2 weeks talking about vaccinations, and a lot of people don't know what's going on. Really, in a sense, we just arbitrarily take it. Well, this is what we've been told. We'll accept that, and I think we need to be more informed.
Right.
So,
well, the media doesn't really tell you much in El Salvador because they're afraid to actually go into the barrios where where there's a lot of situations happening because of the gangs. And but the people that are actually living there, they say it's like a war zone. It's really, really bad, and they're in desperate need of help. And I'll be flying out there in about 2 weeks.
How are you?
Or so, yeah.
Well, talking about warriors, we have another person in the studio, singer-songwriter and now actor, Dalton Cyr. Good morning, Dalton. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are you?
You've been on our show a couple of times before. Now, we talked to you in January 1st, 2014. You actually joined us February 19th and November 5th. So you've actually been here. You're like the regular. You're one of our regulars here, Dalton. And you've just got, from what I understand, an Amazon Studios musical comedy, History of Radness. You're looking rather rad now. You grow in 2 years. You changed, man. I'm telling you.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of people are telling me that. It's probably with the hair change and all that stuff too.
You're getting that long vibe, that long hair thing going on. Yeah. How you been? You been good?
I've been really good. I've been super, super duper busy, but definitely better to be busy than not.
So tell me about this new thing you've got going.
Yeah, I recently filmed a pilot for Amazon Studios called A History of Radness, which is a family-friendly, fun musical comedy about twins that move from Seattle to a really clean, cliche town in Midwestern America and start a rock band.
So hold on a second. Are you one of the twins, or are you both of the twins?
I'm the lead singer of the band.
You're the lead singer of the band. So the twins come in and you're going
to... Yeah. I think it's really cool, just everything about this show, because there's 4 people in the band, the 2 twins. So one twin his name is Jack. He's the lead guitarist. And then there's Tessie, who is the drummer. So we have a lead guitarist guy, a drummer who's a girl, a bass player who's a girl, and a lead singer who's a guy. So I thought that was so cool, especially the fact that something Amazon really wanted to do when they wanted to create this show was to find not only real actors, but real musicians. So we are all real musicians. Like, you'll hear us play a song at the end of the first episode of the show, and when you listen, that's actually us. We went into a studio and we recorded that ourselves. Really cool. So it was so cool being able to be a part of a project like that, because I had so much in common with these people, and they were such amazing actors and musicians. So I got to act with these people and then hop off set, hang out, and jam with them later because they were awesome musicians. It was the coolest thing.
Have you seen a show called Empire?
I have not.
Yeah,
I've seen a bunch of stuff about it. Though,
it's the same type of thing. There's a lot of big musicians on there. I mean, Snoop Dogg goes on there. I mean, there's a bunch of people going on that show, and they're acting and they're playing their music. I mean, there's a great same type of. They're like, oh, that works. We're going to do Amazon. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's so. You spent all of July on tour for the Dream Factory, which we've talked about before, and I know you've talked with Kimberly before about this. Remind us about how you got involved with it and what you're doing there and all that stuff.
Yeah, so in July I did an East Coast tour from New York to Florida, benefiting the Dream Factory. And the Dream Factory is a national organization that grants dreams to critically and chronically ill children aged 3 to 18. Something that I really love about working with the Dream Factory, because I'm a national ambassador for the Dream Factory. So, like, as a national ambassador, I work as a sort of spokesperson, and I also do concerts and events in conjunction with the Dream Factory. Something I really like about working with them is the fact that they grant dreams to critically and chronically ill children, because there are other organizations out there who will only grant dreams to critically ill children, and will often, I'm trying to find a nicer term for turn away children who are chronically ill.
Turn away is probably the nicest term you could probably say, actually.
Yeah, because I think that personally, and the Dream Factory also has this outlook, that somebody could have a disease where they'll be going and getting very painful, like, blood transfusions every other week for the rest of their life, and they still wouldn't be, quote-unquote, eligible to have a dream granted to them by a different organization.
I find it really hard because we do a lot of things every week, and we hear a lot of different stories. And what I find hard is that the fact is that when somebody's hurting, whether it's a child or a person, and we don't have the ability to be able to make them feel better because there is red tape or a governmental body in between that says, no, we have our laws and regulations, I find that heartbreaking, and I find that it's not right. It's just not right. And I think, we have to stand up and say certain things that we might not want to say. I mean, for 2 weeks I spent time on the radio show talking about vaccinations and pro-vaccination and not vaccinated and not vaccinated. Now, my point of view is, like, I believe you should get vaccinated, but I also believe you should know what's in the vaccination. I should not be forced to put my children into doing those vaccinations because I don't know what's in it, and I don't believe anybody that tells me, oh, it's safe. Because when I read what's in it and I know what's in it, those things are not necessarily safe. So same thing when you're talking about kids that are in a situation, whether they've been thrown in dumps like you talked about, or whether, and there's somebody says, well, we can't do anything about it because, we've got to go to this dinner, or we've got a red tape to deal with. I think that's just out of order. That's how I would look at it. I've said my piece, but so what do you do as an ambassador? What type of duties do you have?
Yeah, so I, like I said...
Actually, hold on, wait. We got two ambassadors here. Hold on a second. Ethan, this is kind of interesting. I thought an ambassador had to be like 45 years old or something. We got like teenagers in here, but Kimberly,
I'm a teenager.
You're a teenager, yeah.
Yes.
So like I said, I work as a spokesperson, and I do concerts and events in conjunction with the Dream Factory. So, like, with this tour I just did, I did a lot of concerts at children's hospitals, which was fantastic. They're some of my favorite things to do because I'll get to, like, just perform for all of these kids. And something that we started doing, which was really cool, was a lot of children's hospitals are being, like, renovated, and they're updating all of their just the buildings and the equipment and stuff. So recently I got to have or as many kids as could get out of their rooms safely. They would be gathered up in one area, and I would perform for them. And not only the hospital would do that, they would also broadcast it on a, like, closed circuit television to all the kids who were either too sick to go out of their rooms or weren't feeling well, so everybody could, like, partake in the event, which was cool. Fantastic for me. So yeah, I do a lot of things with kids. I recently I granted a dream to a child in Rochester, New York, who's going to see One Direction later on. So
Wow, that's
she's very, very excited.
I bet.
It was such a really cool
That's an
experience to do
that's
that.
an amazing story. That too. We're talking about them being on American Idol as individual singers, and Simon Cowell comes along and goes, "No, I think you should be a group." And now they've put out 5 albums now, isn't it? Something like 4 or 5 albums,
Yeah.
and made millions and millions. And Simon's going, "Cha-ching, thank you." Good idea, but that's brilliant. That's smart. When you get to those positions and you got that vision, it's really something else. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we one other thing I want to ask you: how many of these performances do you do, and how do these kids react when you do performances? I mean, is it just like cool music to them, or does it actually help them?
I think it really depends, especially in the most recent children's hospitals I've been in. There's a big difference in like ages. Like there will be a large group of kids, like completely different ages. So different kids will probably feel differently depending on their preferences and all that stuff anyway. But everybody has a lot of fun, which is great. I mean, some of the kids may be like sedated, or they won't be feeling too well, so they won't be openly jumping up and down screaming or anything. But when you understand that, you can see it in their eyes when you go up and you like perform to them, or you see them after the show. You can tell that they had a really good time, or just having the opportunity to maybe give these children a little break from their personal fights and their battles that they're dealing with, just to clear it all out and listen to music. Maybe they don't want to jump up and down or scream or do anything, but you can tell that they're having a good time.
Well, look, for those of you that just joined us, for those who've been just listening, we've got 2 guests in the studio, both who actually help kids get their wishes come true, in a sense. And a lot of people believe, it's more than just a great experience of a day or two or at an event. A lot of these programs that help grant these wishes to seriously ill children aim to give kids some kind of happiness during a hard time, and medical professionals who treat wish kids, including nurses and doctors, overwhelmingly believe that this wish experience can influence a wish kid's physical health. Because I think a lot of people don't understand. I think, and this is really interesting about physical makeup of a person. Your thought process. When we move a hand or something, it's an electrical impulse that we think of, like, I want to move my finger. We have that thought process, and therefore it sends a physical impulse to your finger to the muscle and say, okay, move. When you have that thing, that stuff gets stored in your body, and I believe that the way we feel a lot of the time mentally is also the way we feel physically. So by doing what you guys do, which is going to these kids and talking to them about it, I think it must help them, whether they have a serious medical condition or whether they just wish to get out of the slums somehow. It actually gives them some hope that they can do that.
Yeah, another thing I really enjoy about the Dream Factory is that they make lasting impressions on these children. They don't like grant the dream and then you never see them again.
Well, that's really important, because we deal with and I've dealt with several different organizations. One is Wales, in Wales for Niger, West Africa, and their focus is to go into a place, not just dig a hole and go, well, there's the water, let's walk away and let's do it. It has so many other repercussions to it. It actually has the point of, when you help a kid or build a well or do whatever you do, you've also got to create the infrastructure around it so Absolutely. It has a lasting effect.
Absolutely. We have a pay it forward program with our kids. So a lot of times, a lot of the kids that we help, we stay in touch with, we actually have mentors, that can work with the children. Children also can get involved in educational programs on top of that. So we actually are partnering with different nonprofit organizations that offer education, so the children can continue to join our program and stay involved and continue with us doing community service.
Do you have any kids that actually are medically ill?
Absolutely, a lot of them.
Right, a lot of them actually have those problems. I mean, do you find that and both of you, this is a question, do you find that they're more willing to comply with some of the medical treatment they have if they have some sort of this giving to them that they're now the center of attention in a totally different way.
Yes, definitely. I know with me, I have a lot of fans who are medically ill or have medical conditions, and a lot of them reach out to me on social media saying something like, "Oh, when I get my transfusion or whatever, I listen to your music and it helps me go through it." Or I remember that one time when you came to my hospital and you performed and you looked me right in the eyes and you told me this. I think of that and I think of you whenever I have to do this, and it makes it so much easier. Something like that, and that just, it gives me that warm, fuzzy feeling.
It's interesting. It's a great feeling to have, but the one thing I think is really important, and something I've realized in my life, when I was younger, I wanted to help, I wanted to do something, but I also wanted to be, an actor, I wanted to be a star, I wanted to be whatever. I kind of got that, but then I realized that when you get to that level, or when you get to a point where you are successful in whatever you do, eventually that will fade. Eventually, people won't remember that. They will remember what your legacy is, which is how you've interacted with people and what you've been able to do and accomplish with people on this planet.
Absolutely. That's
your legacy, and that will last. That will last for generations to come. And I think that's very important for people to understand. It doesn't matter whether you're a successful person or you're just somebody that, goes to work 9 to 5. I don't mean that you're not successful doing that. Excuse me for that particular comment. But I think if you're a star in music or it doesn't matter whether you can reach millions of people or whether you can reach 10. You reach them, you're still doing your job, and you will leave a lasting impression.
Yeah, for me personally, I think that by the time I leave this world, even though I got a lot of time left, being only 15, if I can leave knowing that I personally changed the lives of people for the better, and they will remember me for that, then I would be
That's
so
the best
happy.
feeling in the world.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, how old were you when you kind of came to this realization? Because it took me a little longer than 15, I think. I was playing soccer,
I think I was around 10 when I did my first event in conjunction with the Children's Hospital, and it was there that I saw all these kids, right? I saw all these people my age dealing with their own battles. I think I touched on this a little bit before in one of my other times on here, but I took a moment and I looked at my goals and dreams, and I was like, okay, I want to be a like recording artist, a musician. I want to play at Madison Square Garden and have like hit songs and all that. And I looked at these kids and their life goals and dreams were, I got hit by a car when I was 4, so I want to be able to walk again.
Yeah,
like it's insane, just the amount,
the difference.
Yeah, it puts things in perspective. So when you see that, you I don't know, I really wanted to make as much of an impact as I could in these kids' lives and help them get close to achieving those dreams and goals, because it's the least I can do. I'm doing all these things. I'm touring, I'm acting, I'm doing music, and I go to a children's hospital and I see somebody who wants to like regain their ability to speak. Like, that's just mind-blowing.
What about you, Kimberly? Because I know you had because I always think there's an inciting moment. Sometimes people come to the realization on their own or because of their parents, but some people have inciting moments in their lives that change them, and it really changes them, for the better or for the good. But there are inciting moments, and I believe you had one, and this is what put you on this path.
Yeah, I was hit by a drunk driver in 2005, and I had paralysis issues with my legs. I still suffer from neurological disorders, but also from chronic pain as well. I was in bed for almost a year. I had to go through like physical therapy and for about a year and a half to kind of get mobile again. But laying there, you start to really think about your life because you don't know if you're going to come out of it. There are days I wake up, I can't feel my legs again. I'm being rushed to hospital again and going back and forth. Sometimes I can't feel my hands. I'm going back and forth, and I don't know when the worst is about to come. And I remember just kind of laying there and saying, gosh, how many people are going through this and are desperately crying for help, and nobody really hears them, So it kind of changes your perspective.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
On everything, yeah.
With enhanced state of mind, children and parents alike experience more happiness and less fear in their lives based on the fact that, these kids are being given help. They're less isolated from friends. They feel a return of self-confidence that comes with feeling normal again. I think that's what you guys give them because I think, like you said, Dalton, I mean, what you're doing compared to what they can now do, it's not normal to them. They can't speak, they can't walk, they can't do certain things. And for you to actually now interact and become their friend or their confidant in a sense, actually allows them that ability to feel like they're part of we talked about before about being part of the family again.
Right.
Yeah. So some kids I've seen or performed to, or even just talked with in hospitals, sometimes they'll enjoy the performance and all that stuff. But what they really want is just to talk with me, just to sit down and have a normal conversation with somebody who isn't a doctor, isn't a nurse, isn't going to put a needle in them, just to talk with them. And sometimes those are the most meaningful moments that you have with these people. So they really enjoy it, and I really enjoy it. It means a lot.
It's interesting. There's an ability right now. You're on an interesting path because you're able to be young enough to be experiencing that. Whereas if you were on a path of just your music and eventually became very well known, for you to be going into that genre, it might not have as much of a grounding effect for you as it would do now, because there are a lot of time when you have fans and a lot of people coming at you, you don't know why they're coming to you. They want a piece of you. And they're not looking for help. They're looking for information. They don't want to be your friend for an entirely different reason. So I think it's a really interesting position you're in at the moment. Do you know what I mean about that? Because I've seen that. I mean, I've been involved in it where I have people screaming at me and blah, blah, blah. And so to have a normal conversation with somebody is very hard sometimes because they want something from you,
right.
And so it's a little different. But, I think you really sometimes have to listen to people and really gauge, who is what and who, because you'll come to that. Yeah,
something that I've helped so many people over the past 5 years that I have I have a large group of people that I know are grateful for me for helping them. So I'm not invulnerable. I'm not perfect. And I know that sometimes I'm going to be the person who needs just somebody to talk to. Mm-hmm. And because I've helped so many people along the way, I know that when I reach there or when I get to that point, I'll be able to talk to others and have that experience myself, have the roles reversed.
Just so that people understand what type of dreams we're talking about here. People have a lot of different things. They have celebrity dreams where they want to meet a celebrity, some recording artist or a favorite movie star. Other ones, role models such as politicians. And then there's fantasy dreams, what they may aspire to when they grow up, including being a fireman, a policeman, a military officer, a model, or even a princess for a day. There's an organization in Dallas, part of one of the people on my board. They have for disabled children, children that have various disabilities.
Night of the Superstars.
That's it. Exactly.
I'm part of it.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, and I think that's a great idea. That these kids are now the star. Mm-hmm. They get their autograph taken. They walk the red carpet. They do all these things that they might not actually be able to do. You want to mention a little bit about that, because I think it's kind of a fun thing for them.
Yeah, I get involved every year. Basically, what they do, the kids get to go and pick their favorite celebrity. And their favorite celebrity gets to walk them down the red carpet and escort them, and the kids get to have limousines pick them up and wear their best tuxedo or their best dress and get their makeup done and hair. When they arrive at the event, they have about maybe 400 or 500 people waiting for them, screaming, saying, "Hey, can we have your autograph?" And the kids are all excited and they're all shy. But a lot of kids are. Some of them are mentally disabled. Some of them are missing legs. Some of them missing arms. Some of them are blind. Some of them are have various types of learning disabilities. And but that day is to help these kids feel really significant at the moment. And make them feel important and recognize them for their achievements.
I love the way you say important, because important, it sounds like the Puerto Rican in you or the New Yorker in you. I remember I said that to you once before. There's one thing that kind of gives it away. It's like one of those.
You will find it. I know. Now and then, yeah.
It's the same thing as me. When I start talking to people and I get more Americanized, I still put those things in there that are English.
But yeah. No, but it's a pretty amazing experience for the kids, and some of the kids, they get home and they're so excited, and they end up going to bed with some of their trophies, and it's one of the best days of their lives, and I stay in touch with a lot of the kids too.
I know you actually have some of the kids actually become ambassadors to your program as well. When we went down to, where was it, in...
Bell Gardens, probably.
Bell Gardens, yeah, it was Bell Gardens, where there was one kid that you'd helped who came in, he was now going to become an ambassador for you to actually then spread the word of what you were doing and was going to help you out on your program. Which I think
we have a lot of them right now. And, right now we not only have kids that are working with us as ambassadors, now the parents want to be ambassadors as well, because they're so appreciative of what we've done for the kids. Now the parents are getting actively involved in the organization as well, and gathering... for example, like we have this one parent, her name is Rosario. She's amazing. We answered her daughter's letter. We mentored her daughter. Her daughter wanted to be a musician. We got her a guitar. And then we ended up answering the wishes of her brothers and sisters. The parents were really appreciative. The mother said, we want to help you with your organization. Let us create North Pole mailboxes within the community. She started then, created her own chapter of our Adopt a Letter in Bell Gardens, and her children got involved. And they helped us answer thousands of letters within the community. The mother was on the verge of losing her home. One of our donors ended up helping her save her home. And then she was even more appreciative, so she ended up adopting 4 children.
Was that the lady that actually found the kids in that house, and they've been there for like 3 months?
Yeah.
I remember her.
Abandoned them.
Yeah, the parents abandoned one, but one was like 18 months old, wasn't she?
Yeah, one was a year old, one was 4 years old, one was 6 years old, one was 8 years old.
The parents just abandoned them in the house.
Yeah, and they were left literally sleeping on piles of garbage and without food or water. The 8-year-old was going outside begging for food and bringing it back home and sharing it with her brothers and sisters.
An 8-year-old. To be put in that position when you're that young, I don't know whether it gives you strength or whether it gives you... I don't know. It obviously must affect, how you're going to look at life.
I would think it would depend on the outcome, on whether they make it or not. Because
good point.
If they are saved, like some of these kids have been saved, or they make it out themselves, I feel like some of the most generous and helpful people have come from terrible circumstances earlier on in their lives, so I think it really depends.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Obviously we've talked about kids that have been, chronically ill in hospital. We talked about kids that don't have it. There's a lot of other kids in the foster system as well. Kids that are abused and end up in the foster system. Granting a wish to some of these kids as well. When we did, and I think I've mentioned this once before on the show, maybe twice, maybe 3 times, I don't know. We dealt with East Los Angeles Municipal Court for the kids when they're in between in the court system. They've been taken away from their parents because there has been abuse in the family. There's been things. And these kids live in this system, so now they don't really have... The family they have are other abused kids. Right. So they really don't have anybody to turn to. And I saw firsthand how, when you go in there and you talk to the kids and you get them to play games, or you play them music, or you give them something to look for, their entire world opens up. But they do shut down. I taught a program where we'd have 30 kids in the class, and it was interactive storytelling, and a lot of the kids were coming going, and you'd be trying to engage them at first, and it would take me an hour. By the end of the hour, when I finally got this, some of the kids that were really were the ones that were the most open at the end of it. And I think that's really what you guys do. Granting wishes to kids really allows them some sort of openness or hope or of some sort.
Yeah, it's all about self-expression. You have to express yourself. It's a part of living, and it's a part of being human, is expressing yourself in some way. And I know with myself, using music as a way to not only express myself to other people, but to let them express themselves, is that there are some people who are in denial, like they don't want to express themselves, they'll close themselves off and all that. But the beautiful thing about music is that you don't even have to, you can do what I'm doing and perform for others as a way of expression, but you don't even have to reach outside if you really don't want to. You can put on some headphones, listen to music, and open yourself up through that way. So I feel like music is such a widespread healer, to be completely honest with you. Yeah.
No, I mean, we had a show a few months back when we talked about music was the first language we know. Way back. That's how we communicated, was through sounds and music. So we get touched at a very core level when we hear music for different reasons. Why is it that certain music really touches us? Either it gives us a memory of something we've had before, or it gives us an aspiration of what we'd like to be. That's why I think it's a communication device that is very at the core of the human existence.
Yeah, while talking about like original songs and compositions by other people, really well-written masterpieces of songs allow the listener to project themselves inside the story of that song. So it connects on a personal level to the person who's listening to it, but it is also widespread enough to connect to the masses, which is just amazing. It's something that inspires me to continue trying to create, because doing something like that is just crazy. Like the balance and walking the line in between personal and like widespread appeal, that's just so cool to me.
Now, I know, Kimberly, you actually also did a program where you took musical instruments into schools as well, and where, the kids program didn't have them, but just to give them the instrument, because you were talking about, Dalton, I mean, you can play that instrument yourself, which actually allows you some sort of outlet. So being able to play music, listen to it, I think is important in some of these kids' lives. I mean, what do you think about that?
No, absolutely. I mean, one of the girls wrote a letter to us asking Santa Claus if they can help save their music program in their school that was being eliminated due to insufficient government funding. And me and the young girl started a campaign together called Keeping Harmony Alive. And we were able to save the music program in the school by creating like instrument charity drives all over town and going on radio stations and getting people to bring in their old instruments that were in the garage, and we were able to save the program. But the program actually makes children feel significant, and I think that is one of the most important things. It gives them a sense of belonging. It also helps them with math, science, and critical thinking, but it also helps them with problem solving as well, and helps them feel confident. So I think that music is also really beneficial to children in that aspect as well.
Dalton, when you do a concert, I mean, is there any story that really sort of stands out to you, or how are these performances set up? And I mean, how do you set a performance up in a hospital? I mean, you got to set the stage up and the band, and
Yeah, like I said, working with the Dream Factory is fantastic because they have the connections to let me perform in hospitals in the first place. I turned 15 in July. And
happy birthday. When in July?
Thank you. The 21st.
Oh, my son's is the 16th.
So when it was the year prior to that, around July, when I did another tour in New York, and I believe the age is like you have to be at least 14 to be able to go into hospitals or go into patients' rooms and perform. Like, you can't do it if you're younger. So I spent like 3 years just like waiting at the gates, like, I want to go. And then I was able, like, suddenly it opened up and I was able to. So I worked with the Dream Factory and I did a lot of children's hospitals. I think something that is very touching is when I really do enjoy performing for masses of people. That's so much fun. But when you strip it down and you walk into somebody's room and you know they aren't feeling well and you have one goal in mind to make them feel better through whatever you do, whether it be music or you want to make them laugh or you want to make them happy in some way, and you go into that room and you achieve that. You see them smile or you see their eyes light up. That is very, very touching. So it was last year and I did a performance in Rochester, I believe, and it was after my performance, and I was packing up things, and I think we were gonna leave, go to like the next state or somewhere, and one of the people working at the hospital told me that somebody wanted to talk to me, a patient who wasn't able to come to the concert, but they just wanted to have a conversation with me, and it was a I think 16-year-old guy who was an athlete and a singer. He wanted to be a singer when he grew up. And how he ended up in the hospital was he was badly burned on a good portion of his face and his body. And I could tell by the way he just wanted to talk to me about normal things. Well, he wanted to talk to me about my singing and my career, but then he also wanted to talk to me about like just what sports teams were winning right now and all that stuff. Yeah. But I could tell by like looking in his eyes and his demeanor and all that stuff that he lost a lot of self-confidence by being burned, and I think that is very common with things like burns and disfigurations. But I also saw like the longer the conversation went on and the more he realized that when I walked into the room and I started talking to him, I looked him in the eyes. I wasn't staring at his burns. I wasn't staring at his disfigurations like a lot of other people would do and were doing. He saw that I treated him on the same level as me, and I think that really brought his confidence up to be open. And I left that room with just like the biggest smile plastered on my face, because I knew I walked into that room and I made that kid feel awesome. He felt great. And that was just the coolest thing.
And sometimes that's all it takes.
What about you?
So
what's the most I want to ask you, what is one of the most impactful stories that have touched you, Kimberly?
But one of them was a young girl named Anna, who was 15 years old. Anna has never spoken. I don't know if you met her. You might have met her when you came with me
yes,
one Christmas.
Yes.
She has autism.
No, I didn't meet her.
Anna, when I first went to Anna's home to deliver gifts for her and her brothers and sisters and some food, the kids were so excited, and Anna just kept humming and humming and humming, and she ran up to me and she hugged me. When I had left, Anna has been waiting by the door, probably for about 6 months. The parents had no way to reach me, and so they kept going, asking neighbors and says, hey, how do we get a hold of Kimberly? Anna stayed waiting for about maybe 6 or 7 months. She found out then I was getting the key to the city of Bell Gardens, and the mother rushed over there and said, my daughter's speaking. And she says, your name, Kimberly.
No,
right?
really? That's awesome.
And every time somebody walked by the door, she would say, Mama, Kimberly is here, you know? And anyway, so I ended up coming back to the house, and Anna and I became friends, and Anna now became a Hope Ambassador. Now she comes with me to help other families in need. And just recently I took Anna, one of her biggest dreams was to go see the ocean. She's never been to the ocean. And I just uploaded a video yesterday of Anna and I going to the ocean and actually jumping over waves. And it was one of the most beautiful videos. You have to watch it later if you go on.
I think that's very cool. I grew up on the East Coast in northern Florida, so I had been by the ocean and by the beach my entire life. I went from coastal Florida to coastal California, so I've had an ocean right next to me my whole life. But it's crazy thinking about people who grew up in maybe like the Midwest or something and they've never seen the ocean.
Right here, it's crazy right
here.
Talk
about that, they're 20 miles away. 20 miles, they've never been there. Yeah.
Away, 70 to 80% of our kids, our teenagers, have never seen the ocean. And I just
crazy.
took another kid.
Yeah.
I just took another kid that has muscular dystrophy who's completely paralyzed, who has a feeding tube. And he's been sitting at home for years. So I said to Mom, when was the last time he goes out? Oh, sometimes I take him on the chair and I just bring him to the outside, to the front of the house. Now they barely have any money. They barely have any food. It's just a really sad situation. I go visit that kid regularly. I was just at his home yesterday. And I said to Mom, I said, has he ever been to the beach? And is it possible to take him to the beach? And she said, yeah, we can go to the beach. And so I took them actually to Laguna Beach, to my friend Michael's home, and he has a private beach there. And he never really spoke. The same type of situation. He was very isolated within himself. And the minute that we were there, he was vibrant. He was laughing. I saw a different side of Brian than I've ever seen before in my life. And Brian is 15 years old.
Yeah, there's actually a girl that's having her dream fulfilled by the Dream Factory. Her name is Sophia. She lives with Still's disease, and Still's disease is a form of arthritis that's characterized by like high spiking fevers and rashes. So it is like really
Not pleasant. Not pleasant.
Yeah, definitely not pleasant. She loves animals in the ocean, so her dream is to go to LA, see the San Diego Zoo, see Disneyland, and see the Pacific Ocean, which I just thought was so cool.
See, it's interesting.
That's her dream.
That was one of the things that we, as a Peace Fund, came in with at Kimberly to take some of the kids to Disneyland. And you think, well, I'm giving a kid a Disneyland ticket. What does that do, really? But, they'll remember that for the rest of their lives.
I actually went to Disneyland yesterday.
Did you?
It's magical. I'm 15, and I will say it till I'm dead. It is magical. I don't care how old you are.
Which did you go to? Which one did you go to? Because there's the two parks there, right?
I went to both. I did Disneyland and DCA, I think. California Adventures, yeah.
California
it was a
Adventures.
lot of fun. I saw the World of Color thing with Neil Patrick Harris's giant projection up on the screen singing to me. It was great.
Well, we've been talking about a couple of organizations this morning. The Dream Factory that began in 1980 with one all-volunteer chapter in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Since then, it's grown into the second largest children's wish-granting organization in the United States, granting over 25,000 dreams since its inception. We've also talked about Kimberly Moore Foundation, which inspired Kimberly to be a leader. She founded the foundation dedicated to bring hope to children all over the world, helping those without a voice and empowering individuals and communities to change lives. And you can find out about both of those. They'll be on our website, thedreamfactoryinc.org and KimberlyMooreFoundation.org as well. What's next for you guys because we've got a couple of minutes left?
Next thing, I'm leaving out to El Salvador. We're going to partner with a nonprofit organization that has a good infrastructure there called Operation Blessing. In Spanish, it's called Operación Bendición, with Lori Oppenheimer. And so we're going to kind of assess the situation of what really needs to be done there. So I'll be gone probably end of August to first week of September.
Yeah, it's stuff like that makes me wish I knew a completely different language, because I heard you just launch completely into a different language and just nail it. And I was like, well, I worked with a chorus, so I know like bits and pieces of a million different languages, but not a full language like that. For me, for listeners in LA, I'm actually doing a concert at the Hard Rock Cafe in Hollywood on August 16th at 12:30 p.m.
Awesome.
So, yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. On the 16th.
You've moved here now, haven't you? You've moved to California.
I am here to stay.
Definitely.
Yep.
Tell me that in 5 years' time.
It's just,
because I know a lot of people come and say that, and they're like, you know what, maybe I'll just move back again.
I mean, I'm getting a lot of work opportunities, obviously, and I'm meeting a lot of wonderful people, and it's just been such an amazing experience for me, because this is where the industry is. So I had the choice to either stay in Florida and bum around wanting to be a real actor or a real musician, or I could go here and actually work at it. So I chose the latter, and it's working out fantastic for me.
Awesome. And Ethan, I know you've got an event as well coming up, I think tonight.
Each and every Wednesday we partner up with legend musician Sheila E. and some of our friends at Universal Studios and Universal Music for the Sheila E. Combat Radio Live. Tonight features actually producer Jason Schulman, who produced Lone Survivor with Mark Wahlberg and Role Models, as well as Bill Daly, who was the Warner Brothers executive turned producer, who worked on Harry Potter, The Matrix. Lots of cast and creators of different shows each and every Wednesday for a live radio broadcast benefiting social services. There's a few other crazies on the bill tonight. There's usually about 6 or 10 of us. And then, Machete, Dust Till Dawn, Aliens, Jaws, all on the calendar for each and every Wednesday coming.
Awesome. And I think we're going to be talking about doing a Peace Fund event there.
Yeah, in fact, actually, you should, we're doing a Aliens one with the Colonial Marines, including your buddy Rico. And I think the calendar around that is empty, so it might be a good time to put one on the calendar.
Maybe I could get the Highlander cast over there. That'd be kind of fun. Get
but what we do is we partner up with a network showrunner or producer each week. So it would be you in that case, I guess, unless you still associate with some of that.
I'm a network.
Yeah, but I mean, we do we did it with like the producers of The Muppets, Third Rock, How I Met Your Mother. So they usually produce the show, and we just facilitate the broadcast. So
all right. We'll talk about it.
Figure something out.
All right. Well, we didn't have John Beerley in the show this week, but thank you guys. Thank you, Don, for coming in, and Kimberly, of course. Always a pleasure, and always you can come in and talk to us because you always have interesting stuff that you're doing and stuff, and I know you're going to be going somewhere big and all that lovely stuff. But for those of you, we also have our Peace Fund Poker event coming up in September 19th. You can find out more about that. Join up. www.peacefundpoker.org. And obviously we will be back on air next week. Ethan, thank you for bringing us this. Bev, Shaharath, and all of the Peace Fund volunteers, I want to thank you for allowing me to do this and allowing us to bring this information to you. In closing, it's a quote by G.K. Chesterton. The most wonderful thing about miracles is that they sometimes happen. This is Adrian Paul and Ethan Dettenmaier. We'll see you again.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Ethan Dettenmaier and Adrian Paul, right here on LA Talk Radio.